Bali, the island where nature shapes life. Bali is often perceived as an image, a green island, warm sea, palms, terraces, waterfalls. But if you look more closely, it becomes clear that the island is far more complex. Its appearance has causes. The mountains did not arise here by accident. Water moves the way it does for a reason as well. Fields appeared, where both natural conditions and a human system of labor made them possible. The coastline forms a distinct way of life. To understand Bali, it is necessary to begin with the way the island is structured. Bali is volcanic at its core. The island belongs to the Great Indonesian Arc, where the interiors of many islands are occupied by volcanic mountains, and the relief then descends toward coastal plains. Bali was formed in a zone of powerful geological processes. It is not a flat tropical territory that was simply covered with greenery. The island's surface was uplifted and reshaped by volcanism, tectonic shifts, rock breakdown, landslides, and erosion. That is why the interior of Bali is so complex in form, while the coastal areas look entirely different. Two volcanic massifs are especially important for Bali, Agung and Batur. Agung is the highest point on the island. Peaks of that kind affect everything around them: the direction of water flow, the sense of scale, the placement of settlements, and the way people perceive space. When an island has a volcano of that size, it functions not as a separate attraction, but as a force point within the geography of the whole island. Bali's volcanic origin also explains one of its most striking features, its fertility. Eruptions leave behind ash and fragmented rock, and over time, these turn into soils suitable for intensive agriculture. The island's dense greenery depends not only on moisture and warmth. It also grows from land that gained its productivity through an ancient volcanic history. When green slopes or fields appear before the eye, this is not a case of accidental decorative lushness. It is the result of a long natural process. First, volcanoes created the relief and provided the material for soils. Then climate and water began to work on that land. Only after that did people learn how to make such a complex landscape suitable for life. Without that connection, Bali would remain only a beautiful picture. With it, the island acquires an inner logic. The second major factor after volcanoes is water. If the mountains gave the island its form, water began to shape that form. Here, water quickly descends from the slopes, passes through narrow valleys, feeds the lower areas, and then reaches the coast. Because of short distances and sharp differences in elevation, water on the island is always tied to movement. That is why Bali has so many ravines, streams, and waterfalls. In such an environment, a waterfall is a consequence of the island's structure. High relief, abundant rainfall, a short route to the sea, and the constant work of erosion create places where water drops sharply and acts with great force. It washes out rock, deepens channels, creates cool, humid pockets within the forest, and forms its own microclimate. In a waterfall, it is important to see not only beauty, but process. The island is literally being reshaped by water. Another characteristic of Bali is the rapid smina of landscapes. On large landmasses, the transition from mountains to plains and then to the sea can stretch for hundreds of kilometers. On Bali, this often happens within a single drive. The island's compact size and complex interior relief produce sharp transitions between different kinds of space. The island changes quickly because its geography is compressed, but not simplified. Climate intensifies this dynamism. Bali has a dry season during the southeast monsoon, and this explains why in some months the land and vegetation have one density of color and in others a completely different one. There is no uniform eternal postcard here. The season sets water in motion, and water changes everything, from the force of flows in the upper regions to the appearance of fields and coastal rivers. What is visually perceived as a shift in atmosphere actually has a simple physical basis: the monsoon rhythm. Because of this seasonality, Bali should be understood as an island of processes rather than static states. A field does not exist here once and forever in a single form. Water in a stream does not maintain an unchanging level. The coast is not the same at different times of year. Even forest mass responds to the distribution of moisture and light. The island is constantly in motion, and its appearance is the result of continuous interaction between seasons, water, soils, and human labor. The interaction of land and water is most visible in the rice terraces. Fields on Bali exist not only because the climate is warm. The rice landscape became possible because of an ancient system of shared water distribution. Water from the slopes was directed through channels, small dams, and diversions so that it reached many plots in the proper sequence. Such a scheme required not only engineering, but cooperation between communities. Put more simply, Bali's fields grew out of an agreement between people about how to divide and use water. This local system is known as subak, It is a cooperative system of water management through canals and dams, and it has existed since at least the 9th century. For centuries, such water communities engineered the island's terraced landscape. Here, nature and social order developed together over a long period of time. That is why Bali's rice fields should be seen as part of a larger water system. Their form follows from relief. Their productivity depends on the distribution of water. Their appearance has been maintained by generations of constant labor. What we see is not a frozen landscape, but the result of continuous maintenance of balance. If water moves through too quickly, the field loses its controlled regime. If the canal system stops working, the very pattern of the terraces begins to fall apart. Beauty is sustained here, not by accident, but by order. It is also important that this order did not destroy the natural relief. People did not turn Bali into a flat agricultural plain. They adapted farming to complex volcanic land. Slopes were divided into levels. Water began to work in tiers. The field became an extension of the relief rather than its negation. That is why Bali's terraces look so convincing in aerial footage. They contain both human labor and the original form of the land. The interior of Bali is also important because it gathers water, not only because it lifts land upward. One of the clearest examples is the Batur area. Mount Batur lies inside nested calderas, and the cone itself rises above an intra-caldera lake. In one place, several themes converge at once: volcanic history, the destruction of an older volcanic massif, the formation of a depression, the accumulation of water, and new activity inside an older, larger form. Such a landscape shows that Bali was not created by a single event, but by many stages, each layer laid over the one before it. The Batur area is also useful as an example of the fact that a volcanic island is not homogeneous. Viewers often imagine a volcano as a single peak. In reality, an entire system exists around it. Older caldera walls, a lake, younger cones, layers of ash, lava flows, and places where destruction on a much larger scale occurred in the past than is visible from a tourist path. When Bali is described as a volcanic island, it is this layered structure that is meant. It explains both the complexity of the relief and the contrast between different parts of the island. To understand Bali, it is also important to realize that even its coasts are not the same. The northern side of the island is associated with calmer waters and a shallower marine space. The southern side faces a more open and powerful oceanic environment. This means that Bali's coasts differ not only in development or tourist pressure, but in physical geography itself. One side of the island is more protected, the other is far more exposed to larger water. North and south also differ in the way people historically used the shore. More sheltered waters offered one set of possibilities, more open waters another. Even without a detailed history of ports or trade, that contrast is still felt. One coast is perceived as a calmer marine space, the other as an edge exposed to wave, wind, and the broader ocean. Differences like these make Bali more complex and more convincing than any generalized image of an island of beaches. Bali's vegetation also has its own explanation. Much of it consists of hilly tropical rainforest. This matters because it helps keep the jungle from being reduced to abstract exoticism. Tropical rainforest forms where warmth, abundant moisture, and dense plant cover come together. When the eye encounters heavy green masses, vines, multi-layered crowns, humid slopes, or thickets by water, this is not simply decorative density. It is a type of environment that grew out of a specific climatic regime and the island's relief. This vegetation has another meaning as well. It does not merely cover the land with greenery, it complicates the very way space is read. In Bali's interior, space rarely opens in wide panoramas. It is concealed by trees, cut by gullies, broken by shadows, narrowed by roads and water passages. That is why aerial footage and ground-level shooting create such different impressions. From above, the island can be seen as a structure. From within, it is experienced as a sequence of passages, descents, rises, and sudden openings. This is a property of an environment in which dense plant cover constantly interacts with the complex form of the land. The ocean creates the island's second major half. Without it, Bali cannot be understood. The interior compresses space, the coast opens it. By the sea, a different geometry appears. A long horizon, open distance, stronger air movement, a different light. Scale is read differently there. In the mountains and among the terraces, the eye is constantly stopped by a slope, a ravine, or a forest mass. On the shore, it travels outward. The coast functions not as a continuation of the mountains, but as a distinct zone of space and light. Bali's coastal strip is also important because through it, the island enters a much larger marine world. Indonesia belongs to the region that scientific and conservation literature calls the Coral Triangle. This is the richest center of marine life and coral diversity on the planet. More than 6,000 species of fish and more than 3/4 of all coral species in the world are concentrated here. This fact alone places Bali on a different scale. The island's coast belongs to one of the most valuable marine spaces on Earth. That gives weight to any scene involving sea and coast. A wave, shallow water, a fishing boat, coastal rocks, or a calm bay are all tied to a vast reef system on which the richness of marine life, the stability of shorelines, and part of the local economy depend. Another important line runs close to Bali, the Wallace Line. This is the boundary between the Asian and Australian faunal regions. It passes through the Lombok Strait between Bali and Lombok. Beyond that narrow strait begins a different natural distribution of living worlds. This detail matters not as an academic curiosity, but as a way of understanding scale. Bali stands at the boundary between major natural worlds. When Bali is shown merely as an island with a favorable climate, it seems like a local wonder. But once it becomes clear that volcanic geology, complex relief, ancient water engineering, one of the richest marine regions on the planet, and a biogeographic boundary of global significance all meet here, the island is perceived in a completely different way. It gains context, and with context comes real meaning. Bali's nature consists of several systems acting at the same time. The first is deep geological, linked to volcanoes, calderas, and relief. The second is hydrological, in which water connects heights, fields, and sea. The third is climatic, changing the island's appearance through the rhythm of the seasons. The fourth is marine, because Bali's coast belongs to a region of global importance for corals and reef fish. When these systems converge, Bali ceases to be simply a beautiful place for leisure and begins to read as a complex natural node. It is also necessary to speak about the scale of human intervention in the island's natural form. On Bali, people did not destroy the original geography, but neither did they leave it untouched. Fields, terraces, canals, paths, roads, and settlements are woven densely into the land. That means the island cannot be divided into pure nature on one side and the human sphere on the other. Even where space is perceived as landscape, centuries of labor are often hidden within it. At the same time, the island retains a very strong sense of natural primacy. Peaks, calderas, the lake in the Batur area, deep water incisions, seasonal shifts in moisture. the difference between more sheltered and more open coasts, proximity to the Coral Triangle, and the Wallace Line all remind us that Bali did not form around people. People inserted themselves into an already complex space. That is why the island has managed to preserve such strong natural expressiveness, even where it has long been actively inhabited and developed. If this part is summed up, the picture looks like this. Bali is a volcanic island with a high interior and contrasting coastal zones. Its fertility is connected to volcanic deposits. Water forms valleys, waterfalls, and the logic of agriculture. Rice terraces are sustained by an ancient system of water distribution among communities. The island's coast belongs to one of the most important marine regions on the planet, and nearby runs a boundary between major biogeographic worlds. All of this creates a space in which people do not simply live next to nature, but learn to exist within a complex system of land, water, relief, and sea. Human life on Bali cannot be explained separately from the island. Here, daily life does not stand beside nature. It passes through it every day. The land determines where one can build. Water determines where and how rice can be grown. The coast determines where tourism concentrates. And roads set the rhythm of movement, trade, work, and the ordinary day. Life on the island is arranged within a space where everything is connected, and the landscape itself gives people no real chance to exist apart from it. On Bali, almost everything is tied to movement. A person here rarely exists inside a large, isolated private space. A significant part of the day is spent on the road, moving between home, work, field, coast, market, temple, workshop, cafe, guest house, or small shop. That is why the road becomes one of the main keys to understanding the island. It shows not only transport, but the way life is organized. On Bali, the road is the place where the whole social fabric can be seen at once. School children, service workers, people going to work, vendors, couriers, tourists, owners of small businesses, and people returning home after an ordinary day. The motorcycle plays an especially important role in this. To an outsider, it often looks like a convenient, even romantic, way to feel the freedom of movement. In local life, it is far more practical than that. On an island of narrow roads, dense traffic, and constant need for quick movement, the motorcycle is a working tool. It connects home with field, a cafe kitchen with the market, a rented room with the shore, a small shop with the delivery of goods, a family with a temple, and a worker with the place of work. If you watch Bali from the road, it becomes clear that the island lives not in bursts, but has a continuous flow of small tasks. That is what its real economy is made of. The tourist image of Bali is often reduced to rest. But rest for some always means labor for others. The island receives people from all over the world, and that presence creates demand for housing, transport, food, rentals, cleaning, delivery, repairs, excursions, small trade, care of space, construction, kitchen work, guest service, maintenance of beach zones, care of gardens, pools, courtyards, and roads. Behind every light, effortless image stands a complicated network of daily labor. If there is a villa in the frame, there is someone who built it, cleans it, repairs it, maintains it, rents it out, advertises it, and supplies it with water and products. If there is a cafe overlooking rice fields or the ocean, then a whole chain of small logistics exists to make that experience possible. That is why Bali should be seen as an island of small-scale, everyday economy. Much depends here not only on large hotels and international brands, but on thousands of small units of labor. Someone rents out a room or a few rooms. Someone opens a tiny business. Someone drives people short distances. Someone keeps a workshop or a shop. Someone works in delivery. Someone grows rice or maintains yards and homesteads. It is this network of small services that makes Bali flexible. It allows the island to adapt to the season, to shifts in tourist flow, to price fluctuations, and to the changing habits of visitors. In large structures, one usually sees the facade. In small-scale economy, one sees the true rhythm of life. At the same time, local life and tourist space on Bali are often not sharply separated. In another place, the resort zone might exist almost on its own, isolating visitors from real everyday life. On Bali, the boundary more often passes not between districts, but inside one and the same space. A single street can at once be a route for local errands and a path for tourists. One block can include family compounds, short-term rentals, a venue for visitors, and an ordinary workshop. The same shore can be a place of work for one person, a morning route for another, and part of a vacation for someone else. That is why Bali does not look like one continuous resort decoration. Real life has not been pushed outside the space. Bali's urban form has its own distinct character as well. It rarely gives the impression of a finished, smooth, once-and-for-all planned environment. Much of the built fabric grows gradually. The new is layered over the old. A small business is added to a residential compound. Trade gathers along the road. Rentals appear next to family space. A more active commercial strip forms beside a quieter district. Space does not look monolithic because it is constantly being reshaped to fit life. Bali has not frozen in some ideal state. It continuously adjusts to the needs of those who live and earn here. This is visible in the smallest details of daily life. On the island, many actions do not look ceremonial, yet they are exactly what keeps life moving. Someone carries goods out to the road. Someone washes the tile at the entrance. Someone transports bags, dishes, produce, or building supplies on a scooter. Someone sweeps leaves that accumulate quickly in a tropical climate. Someone repairs a gate or a sign. Someone opens a business before dawn, because the workday is tied not to an abstract schedule, but to heat, customer flow, delivery time, or the movement on the road. Such details show that Bali is kept alive by the hands of many people, not only by its landscape. Rural life on the island should not be romanticized either. Rice fields are highly recognizable, but behind them stands a regime of constant maintenance. The land must be held, water distributed, canals cleaned, plot boundaries controlled, planting cycles coordinated. A field on Bali is not a symbol of leisure, but a place where nature, labor, and order meet. That is why the island's life cannot be reduced only to tourism. Even where Bali lives through service, it does not cease to be a place of agriculture. And agriculture, in turn, requires patience, knowledge of local water logic, and the constant presence of people. The other side of the island is coastal economy. To an outside gaze, the shore is often a place of open space and beautiful light. For Bali's life, it means far more. It is there that hotels, restaurants, rentals, the surf industry, transport services, short-term housing, work with visitors, food delivery, cleaning, technical maintenance, and constant competition for the most attractive piece of space are concentrated. On an island where the coastal strip is limited and demand is high, the shore becomes one of the most valuable economic zones. This means that every meter closer to the sea carries a price, and that price influences how the island is built, who can live there, who can do business there, and how the coastline itself changes. All of this creates tension between local life and global demand. Bali has become a place visited not only by vacationers, but by people who want to stay longer, work remotely, build a temporary everyday life of their own, and seek a cheaper or more pleasant alternative to big cities. For the island, this changes the very type of outsider presence. A tourist arrives briefly and spends money quickly. A person who settles for months enters a different economy, renting housing, using roads every day, consuming water and electricity, creating demand for other services, and changing the district they inhabit. That is why contemporary Bali should be seen not only as a tourist island, but as a space of mixed habitation, where the temporary and the permanent often intertwine. Community plays an important role in Bali's life. This concerns not only rural districts, but the general logic of daily existence. On the island, many things historically depended not only on state institutions, but on local self-organization. The very existence of an ancient system of collective water distribution already speaks to that. But outside the fields as well, life long took shape through neighborhood, shared rules, mutual obligations, a religious calendar, and the spatial closeness of people to one another. Money is very visible here, but it is not what alone holds the island together. There are also connections between people, without which the complicated daily mechanism would not function. This communal quality is especially vivid in ritual life. On Bali, tradition does not exist only as a theatrical element for tourists. It is built into everyday life. Religious practices, local festivals, preparation for ceremonies, and the small daily offerings visible at entrances, in courtyards, and by shops mean that the spiritual dimension is not separated from work, the road, or trade. It is present directly within ordinary space. That is why one can see a scooter, a smartphone, delivery service, an international cafe, and ritual practice within the space of a single day, a single street, and sometimes even a single courtyard. This combination is one of the island's greatest peculiarities. Bali is at once deeply local and deeply global. It is local because life here still rests on land, water, a religious calendar, communities, familiar roots, the work of hands, small business, and everyday obligations. It is global because the island has long been incorporated into international tourism, digital rentals, the worldwide fashion for living by the ocean, outside investment, and a constant flow of people and images arriving from elsewhere. What matters is that these two dimensions do not exist separately. They collide on the roads, in development, in housing prices, in the structure of services, and in the appearance of entire districts. That is why the price of popularity cannot be ignored. The more people want to use the island's space, the more pressure falls on its resources. Roads become overloaded, the shore becomes more expensive, water becomes even more valuable. The structure of housing changes, waste increases. The burden on the sea, the coast, and local infrastructure grows heavier. On an island, everything is limited. When demand rises, it cannot pass without leaving marks. It is the island scale that makes these processes especially visible. What on a large mainland might dissolve into space concentrates more quickly on Bali. This is especially visible in coastal districts. The shoreline does not stretch on forever, and so every new wave of interest in life by the ocean immediately changes the price of land, the character of building, access to space, and the type of economy. One part of the island begins to live by the logic of short profit, fast service, and high demand. Another part remains tied to older forms of daily life and agriculture. There is no impassable border between them, but the tension is felt. Bali attracts very different kinds of people, and that means it must absorb very different expectations of itself. At the same time, this very mixture is what makes the island alive. Bali cannot be reduced either to a traditional village or to a fashionable resort. The old logic of land and the new logic of money exist here at the same time. There is nothing unique about that for the 21st century, but on an island, such an encounter is especially visible because of spatial density. One kind of life cannot be hidden far from another. If a new villa is built, the local road sees it. If the tourist zone expands, movement in the neighboring district changes. If housing grows more expensive, not only visitors, but permanent residents feel it. Space here is too compact for change to pass unnoticed. There is another theme without which the picture would remain incomplete: the distribution of time. On Bali, the day often begins early, not because it looks beautiful, but because climate and the nature of labor demand it. In the morning, it is easier to move on the road, easier to work in the open air, easier to transport goods, and do what becomes harder in midday heat. This applies not only to farmers, but also to vendors, service workers, builders, drivers, and owners of small businesses. Many forms of work on the island still depend on temperature, weather, delivery schedules, and the density of daytime traffic. That is why daily rhythm is often organized not around a convenient office timetable, but around the concrete conditions of place. Such a distribution of time also shapes space. In the morning, the road belongs to one kind of flow, during the day, to another, in the evening, to a third. The same place can change its character several times within a single day. In the morning, it is a route to the market or to work. During the day, it becomes a service corridor for the tourist zone. By evening, it turns into a space of dinner, meetings, going home, and small street trade. Bali lives not only in space, but in the changing rhythms of the day. And that change says as much about the island as the landscape itself. Against this background, the difference between how Bali is seen from outside and how it is experienced from within becomes especially clear. From outside, the island is often perceived through ready-made images. Freedom, warmth, greenery, sea, slowing down. From within, it is far more concrete. Rent, work, fuel, water, deliveries, dense traffic, agreements over land, season, competition, expenses, repairs, clients, family obligations, a calendar of ceremonies. This divergence does not cancel the island's beauty, but it restores its real ground. Bali can seem light and effortless only because a huge number of people make it functional every day. That is why the final image of the island must be precise. Bali needs no embellishment. It already has enough strength. It is volcanic land that people have learned to use through water, labor, and order. It is a shore that at once feeds, attracts, and exhausts. It is a road that carries both ordinary life and global interest in the island. It is communities that continue to hold the inner framework of daily existence. And it is a modern economy that continually rebuilds space. When all these are gathered together, Bali ceases to be a bundle of cliches. It becomes understandable as a place where nature, labor, faith, service, and outside demand act at the same time. This is the central conclusion. On Bali, life is not divided into a beautiful shell for someone else's gaze and an invisible everyday existence somewhere off to the side. Here, the shell and the everyday are made from the same material. The same island that seems light from the air turns out, on the ground, to be deeply hard-working. And it is precisely this hard-working quality that allows Bali to remain attractive, not in spite of daily life, but because of it. There is no separate world here for the postcard, and another one for real life. The same space performs both roles every day. In this space, nature does not disappear under human pressure, and humans do not exist apart from nature. They continually transform one another. That is why Bali is difficult to reduce to a single definition. It is not merely a tropical island, not simply a place of rest, not merely a land of volcanoes, rice terraces, and ocean shores. It is a complex living space in which relief, water, season, labor, faith, movement, and outside interest are interwoven so densely that they no longer exist separately. And it is within that density that the island's true shape opens up, not invented, not decorated, but formed by land, water, and people.